All right, guys, so we're doing another quick and dirty guide. This one is going to be for Kyle. I'm sorry again that we're doing these in more of a relaxed fashion and not what we typically do with the really nice guides with all the B-reel and stuff. At the end of the day, we're getting ready to have some components redone here in a few weeks, and I don't want to go through 3 or 4 hours of editing a video just to have to redo the video here in a week. But I do want to get the information out there because I know a lot of people are wanting to use these Descendants. So having said all of that, let's go ahead and look at Kyle. We're going to start off with his weapon as we always do. For Kyle, we're going to go ahead and use Secret Garden. Secret Garden gives you a bonus to damage when you're using tech skills, and we're going to be using tech skills on Kyle. So this is just a nice bonus to your skill damage across the board. When it comes to the roll and the components on this, because we're not actively going to be using it to shoot, you really don't need to worry too much about the damage on it. We are going to be looking at sprint speed cores on this. I do have 3 of them on here, and that's really going to make your Kyle feel good and help him get around the battlefield that much faster. So in this build, we are going to be using his 4 for spike damage. It's going to do an insane amount of damage, but every once in a while something might still be alive. And if it is, you're going to want a weapon to help clean up that kill. It's going to be few and far between, but it might happen every once in a while. So we are going to go ahead and use our last dagger. This is something you've seen in a lot of our builds. Right now, the last dagger is in a great spot, a better spot than shotguns for a lot of reasons, mainly because it just uses general ammo. So this is the roll that we're going to go ahead and use on our last dagger as our spike damage weapon. We are going to go ahead and put firearm crit hit damage on here. We're going to put 2 firearm attack cores and 2 fire rate cores. When it comes to the roll on this, we are going to go with weak point damage, firearm attack damage, firearm crit hit damage, and I do have Colossus on here. I like this as more of a general weapon, but you can roll the Colossus off if you want to put crit hit rate just to help make sure this gun is hitting its crit hits. When it comes to the mods, we do have this built out in a little bit of a cheaper way and the way that makes the gun more universal. We do have crit hit damage on here, firearm rate or fire rate. We do have weak point damage, and then we do have firing fiesta. Firing fiesta is absolutely huge. It's what lets this gun spike out a ton of damage, and you really want to make sure it's on this weapon. Outside of that, there is a slot that you can put an element in. Right now we have fire enhancement in here, but you can rotate this out with anything and you're not going to have to recore your weapon. That is a nice thing that makes this gun really universal and something that you can use in most content in the game. When it comes to Kyle's reactor, you are going to want this to be a tech reactor, and we do want it to have an optimized condition that matches the Secret Garden. Outside of that, for the roll, we're going to go with cooldown, and then we're just going to go ahead and put non-at skill power boost on here. You don't really need anything for skill cost or any of that. That last slot, you can put in whatever's going to complement your playstyle, maybe a little bit of range, because his one definitely could use some range. But at the end of the day, most people are using him for large spike damage, and having that extra damage down there is going to help make him feel a little bit better. I can tell you that one of the biggest downsides to Kyle, especially with using his 1 or spamming his 1 to clear most ads, is that his 1 just doesn't feel like it has a lot of reach. It's actually a very small range compared to a lot of other mobbers, and it's not going to feel the best, so you might want to look at maybe putting some range down there instead. When it comes to his components, no surprise here, tried and true Slayer set, works well with everybody, you only need 1 set, and it really cooks. Now, Kyle does not use MP, so the MP on here does not matter. The only things you're going to want to look at here is trying to get some max HP. Even though his HP doesn't matter in our build, we do scale some stuff off of his HP, so putting max HP on here is going to help you out a little bit. And then in the 4th slot, you definitely want to make sure you have shield. You're going to see why when we get into the build, but make sure this man has shield. Now for the inversion reinforcement, we are going to switch him up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and put adrenaline rush on him. He doesn't really need it, but it is going to help make him move through the battlefield a little bit faster. I know he can fly, but you don't want to really be using his fly for mobility, so adding this is going to help him out a little bit. We are going to put Arche circulation tactic on here. Again, this is just a really nice one that gives us a little bit more skill cooldown, and you can never have enough skill cooldown. The big change here is going to be for this shield particle augmentation. Now, typically we put an HP buff in here, but with Kyle, everything he does scales off of his shield. So we are not going to put HP here, and we are going to go ahead and use the shield particle augmentation. This is going to make things just a lot better for you and for him and make him hit that much harder. Now, when it comes to his arcade tuning, we're going to go over and we're going to get as much skill power as we can, and then we're going to run up top and get that cooldown. Outside of that, we're going to pick up a couple extra skill power nodes, and then with all of the rest of his points, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move down and grab a couple shield nodes and that shield recovery node. As again, you'll see when we look at the build, he has no HP. So all of his livelihood depends on him having his shield and having his shield up. So picking up this little bit here is just going to help make him feel like he's not on the verge of death all the time you're playing him. All right, good news is for the dog, it literally doesn't matter what you use. All you want to do is have a dog to pick up and break down things. The HP recovery from the dog is going to give you a big old net 0 on your character, and using the other dog is going to give you heavy ammo, which again is a giant net 0. So at the end of the day, it really does not matter which fellow you put on. Just put on the fellow that you prefer to have. So now we're going to look at the mods, and on this build we're actually using no red mods. There are a bunch of different ways you can play Kyle, and for the build that we came up with on stream, it seemed to be a consensus that we're just going to run no red mods, and he seems to do pretty decent with it. Now, what you're going to be looking at here is we're going to be putting a ton of HP and a ton of shield on him, and then we're going to be using overwhelming shield to convert all of that HP into shield. And the big reason we're doing that is because a lot of his damage scales off of his shield. So when we look at his passive, his magnetic force is based on his max shield times 200%, and then his magnetic force is what really determines how hard his skills are hitting. So this whole build really focuses on pushing that shield as high as we can. Outside of that, we're increasing the skill power and we're reducing the cooldown as much as we can. And then me personally, I put amp control on this just for a little bit of quality of life. When we're running around using him, we're going to be spamming his 1 a lot. And his 1 has a very, very small damage radius. At base, it's 1.5 times 1.5, which is abysmally low. With this amp mod on here, we push it up to close to 3, but it's still not quite at 3, especially with the Arche tree. So this is just to make him feel a little bit less clunky, but at the end of the day, you can look at replacing that mod with something that fits in a little bit better with your playstyle. One thing you can look at doing is switching out the range mod with Veterans Tactics. What this is going to do is give you a chance to reset a skill at a set chance, and that is going to make Kyle also feel less clunky. Some of the biggest issues with this character are the range and his skills don't seem to hit enough enemies, especially when spamming his 1. Adding the range there is going to help offset that, but only a little bit. The other thing you're going to find is that even with everything we've got in here and as much cooldown as we have, his 1 is not going to have an unlimited uptime the way you would like. So if the range isn't bothering you, you can use Veterans Tactics. You will be sacrificing the range for a chance at getting your skills back. The good news here is if this hits your 4 skill, you will be able to spam your 4 a little bit more. So at the end of the day, it's a give and take depending on how you want to play the character. But I do want to make you aware that if you feel that you do not have enough cooldown on your 1 or your 4, you can switch that range mod out for Veterans Tactics. Alternatively, you can look at using multi-talented as well. What multi-talented is going to do is it's going to give you a little bit more range and power when you use a tech skill, which is going to be his 1 and his 4. Outside of that, if you decide that you need more cooldown, you could use a dimensional skill, which is his 2 and his 3, to get some more skill cooldown. I'm trying to give you guys a couple options here when it comes to how to play Kyle, because even with all the changes they've made to him, he still feels very clunky. And while I normally don't have anything negative to say about Descendants, I can tell you that after playing and leveling Kyle, Even with the increase to his skill power, he is still not one of my favorite Descendants. And the main reason is he just feels clunky to play. So I wanted to give you guys a couple different alternatives. That way you can try out a few different things to see if you can make Kyle feel better for you. So with this build, the main skills we're going to be focusing on are his 1 and his 4. There are going to be specific use cases to use his 3, and we'll talk about those at the end. But currently, what you're going to do is use your 1 to build force, and then use that force to launch your 4 to take out big targets. So as you can see, we run up to the group and we just use our 1 and it dashes around and hits targets. What I will tell you is that the targeting on the 1 does not always feel good on keyboard and mouse. You can tell that they really pushed the lock on to help with controller, and there are times where it just locks onto the wrong target when you're on keyboard and mouse. So when you get all of your magnetic charge up and you find a large group of enemies, or you find a single target that you want to take out, just pop your 4 and aim for it and knock them out. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this does an insane amount of damage and will typically take out anything that you see. So it does feel good, and having that power fantasy and ability to just one shot essentially anything on the map is the fun and the joy of playing Kyle. The only downside is you cannot really spam that skill, and that using his 1 feels exceedingly clunky. So the only real use case for your 3 is if you're about to take a big hit or you're tanking for your team. If that happens, you pop your 3 and all incoming damage goes to your magnetic force field instead of your HP. Then when your force field gets down to 0 or you repress the skill, you actually just explode out a ton of damage to everything around you. This is not something that you're going to be using a lot because it's not really part of the current meta, but I did want to explain to you how it worked because there are very limited use cases where you will see you're about to take a ton of damage and you can just pop your 3 to keep yourself alive. All right, guys, and that's it. That's basically everything you need to know about Kyle. What I will say is I don't personally enjoy playing this Descendant. I still feel like his kit is clunky, and I feel like he is eclipsed by a lot of other Descendants in their ability to do damage to a lot of different enemies. With the current sandbox and the changes that have been made to the game, somebody like Kyle feels like he's been sunset. I could see where he had a better use case in the beginning of the game where you needed people to fill certain roles. You needed somebody to do a lot of damage to specific targets, you needed somebody to tank, you needed all these different roles. Right now in the game, he feels like he just doesn't really need to be there. If they found a way to expand the range on his 1 or give him some more cooldown, I think he would be a lot more fun to play. Now, having said all of that, the amount of spike damage he can do to a single target is pretty crazy. And for that, he is fun, but you will find that if you play him with other people, you're not going to be doing a lot of damage because they will be taking out all the mobs before you get there. And if you play him by yourself, you're going to feel like he's not very impactful and he's not killing regular run-of-the-mill ads fast enough. But at the end of the day, he is a solid Descendant for what he was built for. We just don't really need that right now. So hopefully, even though he's been brought up, he gets a rework in the future. But having said all that, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys enjoy playing Kyle? Are there some other builds that I should look at that make him feel much better and much more impactful on the field? I know that there are multiple builds for a lot of different Descendants, and maybe a different build will make him feel that much better. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and it will help us come up with better guides in the future to help our community enjoy these Descendants even more. And if you guys enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more First Descendant content, as well as other games in the future. And lost my train of thought, but hey, if you made it to this part, it's okay that I mess up once or twice, right? If you enjoy our content, consider coming over to the live channel and checking us out. We stream 5 days a week on Twitch, and I would love to see you guys there. Definitely means a lot to get to know you guys and get to see you guys and meet you guys. We have a great community over there, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. But having said all that, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.